Sometimes the hardest cuts don't leave scars on the skin. They leave scars on the heart. In the summer I turned pretty. One moment changes everything between Adam and Jeremiah. What starts as a bond of trust and loyalty soon twists into betrayal, silence, and a painful goodbye. Let's step into the scene where Adam finally cuts Jeremiah off, forever altering their story, the story of the summer. Turned Pretty is not just about summer love and teenage. Dreams Zits about the fragile threads that tie people together. Behind every smile on the beach, every glance across the bonfire, there are secrets, rivalries, and emotions too heavy to keep hidden. And in this storm of feelings stand Adam and Jeremiah, two people once close, now pulled apart by decisions, jealousy, and the weight of unspoken words. Adam, the one who often seems strong, confident, and in control, carries his feelings like armor, but that armor is cracked. Beneath it lies a mix of anger and heartbreak that he struggles to keep buried. Jeremiah, on the other hand, wears his heart openly. He is warm, vulnerable, and desperate to hold on to the bonds that make him feel safe. Their friendship was once effortless, a steady rhythm of laughter and shared memories. But now it is shaking, threatened by choices that neither can take back. The summer had already been tense. Everyone could feel the invisible lines being drawn, lines between friends, between brothers, between love and loyalty. For Jeremiah, this tension meant confusion. He wanted to believe that things could stay the same, that no matter what happened, Adam would still stand by him. But for Adam, every moment was a reminder of the wedge slowly being driven between them. He felt betrayed, replaced, and misunderstood. The silence between them grew heavier each day, till silence was no longer enough. It all comes to a point in the scene we're building toward. A confrontation that doesn't need fists or shouting to her tits sharper than that. It's the kind of moment where words become knives, where a decision once spoken can't be undone. Adam's choice to cut Jeremiah off isn't just an act of anger, it's a breaking point. A statement that says, we can't go back to what we were, for viewers. This is the moment where the show stops being about summer fun and becomes something deeper. It's about growing up, about realizing that not every relationship survives change. It's about watching characters you care for fall apart in ways you never saw coming. And so, before the cutoff, before the silence that follows, we pause. We step into the story not just as watchers, but as witnesses, feeling the tension rise, the air grow colder, and the weight of something ending before our eyes. This is where the summer turns bitter. This is where Adam and Jeremiah's story takes a turn that neither of them can escape. Very summer has its breaking point. For Adam and Jeremiah, it wasn't one loud argument or one single mistake. It was 100 little moments piling up like waves, crashing harder each time until finally the tide had to pull one of them under. The cracks between them began with whispers, small disagreements that felt harmless at first, a side comment that cut too deep, a look that lingered too long, a choice made without thinking of the other. Jeremiah noticed it, but he kept convincing himself it was nothing. Adam was still his anchor, wasn't he? The friend who would always come back, no matter what. But Adam's silence said more than his words ever could. Adam was watching, always watching. He saw Jeremiah laugh with others, lean on others, trust others. And every time, it felt like a piece of what they once shared slipped further away. He wouldn't say it out loud, but the jealousy burned inside him. It wasn't just about friendship. It was about being chosen, about being the one who mattered most. Jeremiah didn't see it, or maybe he didn't want to. To him, loyalty was natural, something that never had to be proven. To Adam, it felt like it had to be fought for. The tension followed them everywhere. At the beach house, conversations that once stretched late into the night were now clipped, rushed, uncomfortable. Around friends, the laughter that used to come so easily was now hollow, shadowed by unspoken words. Even when they weren't arguing, the silence between them was louder than anything else. Jeremiah tried to reach through it to keep things light, but Adam's responses grew sharper, colder, and then came the moment that pushed everything over the edge. A decision Jeremiah made nascent in his eyes. Unforgivable in Adam's. Maybe it was a betrayal of trust. Maybe it was about choosing someone else over him. Maybe it was simply not standing up when Adam needed him most. Whatever it was enough. Enough to turn the slow burn of resentment into fire. The conflict wasn't just about what happened in that moment. It was about everything that had built up before. Every memory of loyalty that Adam felt had been ignored. Every moment Jeremiah thought things were fine when they weren't. Every unsaid word that grew heavier until it couldn't be ignored by now. The friendship was no longer a safe place. It was a battlefield. And Adam, tired of carrying the weight of unspoken anger, was ready to strike. He wasn't going to explain himself. Not anymore. He wasn't going to give Jeremiah another chance to brush it aside. He was going to cut him off clean, sharp, final dot for Jeremiah. The build-up felt confusing, unfair even. He was still holding on to the idea that things could be fixed, that Adam just needed time. He didn't see the storm building until it was already over his head. He didn't realize that Adam wasn't just upset, he was done. This build-up isn't about shouting or dramatic fights. It's quieter, more dangerous, because the most painful endings don't come with explosions. They come with the slow fade of trust, the slow drift of hearts that were once in sync. They come when one person finally decides they can't hold on anymore. And that's exactly where Adam and Jeremiah stood on the edge of something irreversible. The air between them felt heavier than the humid summer nights, every word teetering on the edge of collapse. Jeremiah still believed there was a chance to save what they had. Adam, though, was already preparing to walk away. The conflict had built itself piece by piece. Until now, it was too strong to ignore. And in the silence before the final moment, you could almost hear the sound of something breaking, the kind of break you can't fix with apologies. The kind that changes everything that comes after. Asterisk. There comes a moment in every story when silence can no longer protect anyone. For Adam and Jeremiah, that moment arrived, not with thunder or lightning, but with a quiet so sharp it felt dangerous. The summer air was heavy, thick with humidity and words that had never been spoken. The world around them carried on waves hitting the shore. Cicadas humming in the trees, but between the two of them, time seemed to stop. Adam stood there, his arms crossed, his eyes fixed on Jeremiah in a way that made the younger boy's stomach twist. It wasn't anger that filled Adam's expression, it was something worse. It was finality. Jeremiah opened his mouth, searching for something to say. Some joke or soft word that could untangle the tension, but Adam beat him to it. His voice was steady, but every word was a knife. "You don't get it, do you?" Adam said, his tone flat, almost tired. "I'm done, Jer. I can't keep pretending we're the same as we used to be." "Because we're not." "You're not." For a second, Jeremiah froze, as if he hadn't heard it right. His eyes darted around, looking for the old Adam, the one who always had his back, who would never walk away. But the Adam standing before him was different. He was firm, unshaken, and heartbreakingly certain. Jeremiah tried to laugh it off, tried to deflect like he always did. "Come on, Adam, you don't mean that?" "We've had fights before," but Adam cut him off sharply, his words heavy with the weight of months of swallowed anger. "This isn't a fight, Jer. This is me saying I don't want this anymore. I don't want us." The words landed like stones, each one sinking deeper than the last. Jeremiah's chest tightened, his breath coming uneven. He wanted to argue, to beg, to explain, but what could he even say? That he hadn't realized how much Adam had been hurting? That he thought everything would somehow fix itself? It was too late. Adam took a step closer, his voice lowering but growing sharper. "You made your choices. You picked where you wanted to stand. And it wasn't with me. Don't act surprised now." Jeremiah's throat burned as he tried to form words. "I never you did," Adam snapped. And then softer, almost broken, "You did? And that's why this ends here." The silence that followed was unbearable. Jeremiah's hands trembled as he clenched them into fists, not out of anger but out of desperation. He wanted to reach out, to grab Adam's shoulder, to force him to remember all the summers before this one, the laughter, the loyalty, the nights when they swore they'd never let anything come between them. But Adam's body was closed off, distant, like a door that had already been locked from the inside. This was not a moment of yelling or chaos. It was quieter than that, more devastating. The kind of quiet that rings in your ears long after the words are gone. Adam wasn't interested in explanations or apologies anymore. He wasn't waiting for Jeremiah to fix it. He had already decided that the friendship, the bond they had built over years, was something he could no longer carry. Jeremiah's voice cracked when he finally spoke. "So that's it? After everything, you're just done?" Adam's eyes softened for a fleeting second, almost enough to suggest regret. But the softness vanished quickly, replaced with cold resolve. "Yeah," he said simply, "I'm done." And that was the moment. The cut wasn't dramatic, but it was final. It didn't come with screaming or slamming doors. It came with a sentence so simple that it couldn't be mistaken, couldn't be ignored. Adam had cut Jeremiah off, and nothing would ever be the same. For Jeremiah, it felt like the ground beneath him had disappeared. He wasn't just losing a friend. He was losing the person who had always been a constant, the one who knew him best. For Adam, it wasn't victory or relief. It was exhaustion. A decision made not because he wanted to, but because he felt he had no other choice. The confrontation ended not with a dramatic exit, but with silence. Adam turned away, his footsteps heavy but steady, leaving Jeremiah standing in the weight of his own shock. The world kept moving, the waves still came in. The cicadas still hummed, but Jeremiah stood frozen, realizing that a chapter of his life had just closed before his eyes. This was the break. This was the cut. And unlike the playful arguments and small fights of summers past, this time there was no coming back. Asterisk, when Adam's footsteps faded into the distance, the world felt strangely louder. The crash of the waves, the hum of the summer night. Even the distant laughter from inside the house, all of it, seemed to mock Jeremiah's silence. He stood there, rooted in place, as though moving would make the finality of Adam's words real. His chest ached, but the hurt wasn't sharp. It was slow, heavy, a weight pressing down on every breath. The cut wasn't just about Adam walking away. It was about the realization that Jeremiah had never seen it coming. He thought he had time to fix things, time to explain himself, time to remind Adam of everything they'd been through. But time had run out without him noticing. Now he was standing in the ruins of a bond he thought was unbreakable. In his head, memories played on repeat. The nights they spent talking until the sun rose. The promises they made when the world felt simple. The way Adam always seemed like a constant, a presence Jeremiah could rely on even when everything else shifted. Each memory stung now, as if they had been pulled out of him and burned right in front of his eyes. Nostalgia wasn't comfort. Any merit was a weapon, cutting deeper with every flash of what once was. Adam, on the other hand, walked away with steady steps, but not without cost. Cutting Jeremiah off wasn't triumph. It wasn't freedom. It was grief in disguise. Every step forward felt like dragging chains, but he forced himself to keep going. For Adam, this wasn't about wanting to hurt Jeremiah. It was about survival. It was about not being the one left behind anymore. He knew that if he stayed, if he allowed Jeremiah to pull him back with half-words and empty reassurances, the wound would only deepen. So he chose the pain of ending things over the agony of waiting for Jeremiah to choose him again. The aftermath wasn't a scene of shouting or reconciliation. It was emptiness. Two boys who once built their summers around each other now found themselves standing on opposite sides of a line neither had wanted to draw. The house still buzzed with life, with parties and secrets and loves that would bloom and fade before the season ended. But for Adam and Jeremiah, the night marked the death of something far greater than a summer fling. It was the loss of a foundation. Jeremiah struggled to sleep that night. Every creak of the house, every whisper of the wind through the open window reminded him of what he no longer had. His thoughts ran wild, each one a question with no answer. Could he have changed things if he'd noticed sooner? Was Adam's mind made up long before the words were spoken? Or was this just the inevitable truth of growing up that not every friendship survives the storms of jealousy, love, and mistakes? Adam, though, found no peace either. He lay awake staring at the ceiling, knowing that what he had done would echo long after summer ended. There was no undoing it, no easy path back. He told himself it was necessary, that letting go was the only way to protect himself. But in the quiet of the night, he wondered if he had just lost the one person who knew him best. The cutoff moment didn't just change the summer. It altered the way both of them would remember it. The bonfires, the beach, the laughter, it would all now be colored by this fracture, this moment where a bond was severed. And that is the cruel truth of endings. They don't erase what came before, but they stain it. For the audience, the reflection is haunting. It forces us to ask, how many of our own friendships are one unspoken word away from breaking? How many bonds do we take for granted, assuming they will survive every storm until suddenly they don't? Adam and Jeremiah's story isn't just theirs. It's a mirror of our own fragile connections. As the screen fades, the question lingers. Was Adam right to protect himself, even if it meant walking away? Or was Jeremiah's mistake one that deserved forgiveness? The answer isn't clear, and maybe that's the point. Some stories don't give us closure, they leave us with echoes, shadows, and questions that will follow us long after the summer ends. And so the reflection closes, not with peace, but with weight. A reminder that the scars we don't see, the ones left behind by people we once loved, it's the hardest to heal. This is where the summer shifted. This is where innocence gave way to something harsher, more real. And this is where Adam and Jeremiah's story, once built on loyalty and laughter, was cut short by silence.